because you're so popular.
Hello. We have people joining us.
No.
Don't say we want people
Hi,
to join
people.
us.
Thanks for joining us.
As our excitement level is kicking in. Welcome to Weight Loss Wednesday, episode 7. With special guest, Sara Rizvi, registered psychotherapist. Sorry for the pause on
Psycho.
Yeah, you know what I mean. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So Sara was really excited to be on today. And like always, she's like, when are you going to have me on the next podcast? I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean,
I do not.
There's a few other people in line.
So
but, we squeezed her in.
Yes.
And being an expert in mental health.
I appreciate you squeezing me in.
Okay. Well, it's about weight loss today.
Yes.
And I want to explore some of the concepts of mental health and obesity, gaining weight, the process of losing weight, and maybe even a little bit of like the science behind weight loss and food in terms of anxiety, depression, all that kind of cool stuff.
Right.
Do you have any introductory thoughts?
Well, I think anytime it comes to something like weight loss, which I'm hoping it's not only about weight loss today. I know that's a topic, but I think we also want to talk about body image in general.
Yeah, no, I think that's critical.
Yeah, but I think that mindset has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. So, no offense to your efforts in terms of, we can have the meal plans and we can have the vitamins and we can have all those things. But if we don't have the proper mindset, then how do we actually work towards certain goals, right? How do we, if we think about it in terms of like, let's say a marathon runner, you can have all your marathon equipment, your shorts, the amazing running shoes, you can have all those things. But if your mindset's not there, if you're not able to think clearly, or if you're not feeling motivated, I think that those are some hurdles that can affect the way that you approach weight loss. Or
no offense taken.
Okay.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like in anything that we do, you gotta have the right mindset.
Right. I mean, even personally, I think, I've come in here and I've bought all the vitamins and everything, but if I haven't, what?
Careful what you're going to say.
There's nothing bad I'm going to say, but I think that there was a point where I don't think that I was ready for the change. I wasn't ready to approach this change in lifestyle. And when that was not established yet, I wasn't able to, follow a routine. And
we have a pill for that.
For what? Following routines?
Yes.
All right, I'll take one of those.
So then what did it for you? How do you establish the right mindset to accomplish anything?
I think a lot of it has to do with looking at things that are attainable. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, if there are goals that aren't attainable, or if we just one day decide that this is something that we're going to do and we're not ready for it, then that can affect the way that we kind of navigate through that plan. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think, establishing a goal and having a goal that's, like SMART goals, right? They're specific, they're time bound.
So, okay. Let's tie this to weight loss.
Okay.
And then we can expand from there.
Sure.
So I think it's, you're bringing up an important and key element. Yeah. Because in a weight loss program, anyone can just come in and say like, I want to lose 70 pounds and be like, well, that's a lofty goal.
Mm-hmm. So is it realistic?
Well, it's not realistic if you're not measuring success along the way. Right. If you're like, I haven't reached my goal, I lost 69 pounds. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, well, is it a failure? I'm like, obviously not. But and anything that we take on, we have to break it down into pieces. This is like how our brain works, how reality works. And there is no such thing as like a linear process. Things kind of go in steps. Mm-hmm. There's sometimes a little regression. Mm-hmm. And, that phrase like one step forward for two steps. Nope, one step backwards for two steps forward. Right. It shows up a lot with weight loss and other areas of health. So I agree with you. And I think that's, one of the reasons why I have a strong focus on mental health, and I encourage my clients to speak with you, is that there are a lot of the intangibles that not necessarily show up on like a lab report or the feeling that you have or you're going through in between appointments or accomplishments.
Sure.
So you got to have a way to gauge success stepwise, week by week, even day by day. So,
but I think to also give yourself some of that grace, right? If you aren't, if you aren't losing as much as you had planned on losing, you also want to look at what else is going on in my life. What else is happening, right? The holidays are coming up. That might be something for people. It can be exciting and full of events. And maybe that's why people might be eating more or eating the things that they weren't, considered a part of their healthy plan or healthy diet. But then there's people who might be not looking forward to the holidays, and maybe it's a stressful time for them and they can be stress eating or,
yes.
If we want to talk more about stress eating, I guess that's...
Is that something you want to talk about?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I think...
I have notes, but as you're talking, I'm going to...
Am I just jumping all over the place? It's something that
no,
I
this is good. We're going to... we'll tackle these topics because they're all like what I wanted to cover anyways.
Okay.
And there's no wrong answers in this case.
No.
All right.
Right. So stress eating, I think some of it has to do with the comfort that we find in certain foods. Some of it can be avoidance.
Yes.
Right. So if we find that there's a lot of other stressful things that are going on in life, maybe we just want to sit down in front of the TV and just, binge certain foods that we find comfort in. Some of it can be foods that, are comforting because of, what they meant to us as we were growing up.
No one binge eats broccoli.
No, wouldn't that be nice?
Well, think about that. I think, you don't have to think about it a lot. It's a stupid comment. But I think what we do is we binge or we treat ourselves with treats, something that we'll consider a reward.
Right.
And the reason why it's a reward is because it's something that we're not supposed to indulge in too much. It's something, it's like an extra, like a little piece of something or on a special occasion. I always tell people, like, growing up, or depending on how old you are, where you came from in the world, the holidays were special because you got those things that you never had.
Right.
Now I gotta have a piece of cake every day if I want it. Not
yeah.
that I do.
But you have access to it.
I have access to cake.
Right. Access to it, easier access to it. Uber Eats, right? You don't have to drive very far to get it.
Uber treats.
There you go. And that's another thing, because you've been mentioning it as a treat, but for a lot of people, they will mention it as a cheat.
Yes. So or a reward.
Yeah, and that's okay. Rewarding yourself or treating yourself is okay within
how often?
Within limits, right?
But what if it's once a day? Too often. Once a week? That's pushing it, especially if you want to lose weight.
Right.
And then how about if it's just mental health in general, and you don't have enjoyment in other areas of your life, and then somehow food becomes
an enjoyment.
That's your reward system.
Right.
So how can you maybe change that reward system? What are other things?
So this is, again, going back to like the mindset and thinking about how does this affect me? How can I reward myself in other ways? How can I, reward myself with something that's not about consuming?
Shopping.
Sure, but even that within limits, right?
I know.
Obviously.
That's why I brought it up.
Okay, so you can buy yourself a new pair of running shoes and go run out, run and do that.
Oh, see, you tricked me. I bought running shoes. Now I got to run.
Maybe that's something that you want to do. Again, everything has to be in moderation, within limits, right? You're not going to be like, today I've decided to run, so I'm going to go run 2 hours.
Right.
Right? Because what's going to happen?
You're going to hurt yourself and then never run again.
Exactly. Or for whatever reason, burn out and be like, I don't have the ability to do it again.
So besides having like a mental health expert like yourself, or just a smart guy like me, how about the people around you? How can they be a supportive team?
Well, having people who are going to speak to you kindly about your journey.
Yes.
Right? There are people who aren't going to be as supportive or who aren't going to speak to you kindly. I think what
do you mean kindly? Where are you going with that?
Well, like
how many people are around people that are
I think there are people whose parents or significant others will, kind of
fat shame?
Yes. Fat shame or,
mock?
Yeah, or like these like backhanded comments or some kind of passive aggressive
comments. Like, I'm going to go to the gym. You're like, yeah, you're going to the gym.
Yeah, sure. Or like, oh, I don't know. I'm not mean. I can't think of anything right now.
I can think of a lot, but so you probably are highlighting that like you need to have ideally
good support system,
a system or a circle of individuals, and it's probably not going to be 10 people. It could be 1, 2, 3.
4, 5.
Five. I think 5
Yeah.
in general consensus is a nice number of people that are like, you know what, they're going to help me when I'm down. They're going to help motivate me, encourage me. One could be like a really close friend or family member. One should be some type of physician or medical practitioners. One should be in like psychotherapy, a therapist, guidance counselor, someone very specific for mental health. And then there could be 1 or 2 other areas, like maybe it's a personal trainer or a dietitian. And you round out like a circle of people that are going to like help with accountability. Because sometimes it's easy to be like, someone's like, you don't need to go to the gym. You don't worry. What? Yeah, you go tomorrow. And sometimes you need to hear that when you've been working really hard. But then when you have like very low motivation and you don't feel like doing something, those are the kryptonite people.
Right. And I think it could also be important to have people who are kind of on a similar journey as you, right? A weight loss journey. So we were talking earlier about having, a support group.
Yes.
A therapy support group. And
That's
I was saying
nice.
I was going to start something where, people who are like-minded and, kind of looking to get started can have that support, that peer support.
Yes.
And to have that in terms of helping with accountability.
Yeah, I was going to say accountability.
Yeah.
And regularity of
Right.
checking in every so often.
Yes, because it's very easy to convince ourselves not to do something. Whereas, if we have a support group, to do the opposite, to convince each other or to help motivate each other to do certain things.
Sure.
If we go back to convincing ourselves of certain things, the way we speak to ourselves is very important when it comes to this stuff.
Well, I want to know more about that.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to lose weight and I'm telling myself every day that I can't do it, chances are that I've just kind of programmed that into my brain.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So what's the point? There's no point. It's not going to happen.
What's something you can do to overcome some of that negative talk, that self-criticism, or you like look in the mirror like, oh, I hate looking at myself. It's like, well, I mean, you're going to have to like face where you are in order to go somewhere further.
Right. But it's what are you saying to yourself when you're looking in the mirror?
They're probably saying bad things.
Bad things. And so some of that comes back to cognitive behavior therapy, which is shifting the way that we speak to ourselves, basically.
Okay, let's say I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like how I look. I don't have a six-pack. My jeans don't fit.
Okay.
What
are you telling yourself?
I'm telling like I don't like how I look. I
Right.
used to have a six-pack.
Right. So maybe instead of, saying that to yourself, you can say, perhaps it's time to make some changes. Right. So it's basically, if you're not going to say certain things to a friend or a family member that you care about, chances are you shouldn't be saying it to yourself.
Wow, that's a good point.
Right.
So why do we do that?
Some of it is programmed. Some of it is that we can get away with it because there isn't anyone that's going to tell us to stop. Right. But if you had a friend that was constantly nagging you about not having a six-pack anymore, chances are you wouldn't want to hang out with that friend anymore.
Or I'd had my six-pack already.
You could, but it probably wouldn't last very long.
No, I know. It's not the kind of motivation you need. You want to be around people that encourage you along the way as opposed to like guilting you into like, why don't you have this? Why aren't you there yet?
Right. And I think that this why aren't you there yet mentality often makes you fall off track because if you don't see results right away, you're all of a sudden that's something that you're not really interested in doing.
I thought you were going to swear for a second.
What?
I don't know. I had a statement. I just want your feedback on it. And I came up with it. So it's not super smart, but it's me. Many of the things that help you lose weight also help improve your mood.
Yes.
Discuss.
So if we aren't eating the right foods, we're gaining weight. Our mood, we probably have lower energy, right? If we don't have that energy, we're not feeling motivated.
Crummy diet
Yes.
makes you gain weight.
So that's another thing.
Yeah, you were saying it.
Just to go back to something for a second is the idea that if we don't have that energy, then we're going to find a way to convince ourselves that we don't want to do this today. I don't feel well. I don't feel good.
Hey, Andrew's joining us. He's bragging about his six-pack. Hey, Andrew,
hey.
thank you. We were
Hey,
just
Andrew.
talking about you.
We were not.
But what were you saying? I cut you off because you
I don't
distracted
know.
me. Maria joined too.
Hi, Maria.
All my friends are coming in.
I think we were talking about energy and motivation and not having any of that. But again, it's very easy to then convince ourselves that this is something that, we don't want to do today or tomorrow or just keep putting it off.
Well, I mean, I also was looking at the perspective of exercise helps you lose weight, but exercise also helps with your mood, with serotonin and endorphins and all that sort of thing. Eating cleaner, like, and even starting a health kick. I mean, not only does it help with losing weight, but it also helps with mood. Because there's I printed off a million different statistics, but in terms of like high carb diets are correlated with an increased risk of depression.
Right.
It messes with your serotonin. And then that's where we look at things like 5-HTP and tryptophan as ways to help support the serotonin levels in the brain, which has a huge connection with our gut. I think about 90% of our serotonin is in our gut, which is weird because you think it belongs in your brain. But then that talks about the whole gut-brain connection,
the
right?
connection that for a long time we didn't really know about until, recently studies start to show that.
The naturopaths discovered all that. Yeah,
thanks for doing that.
We shared it with the psychotherapists.
There you go. And it's true. And, if we aren't, it's all encompassing when you think about it as what are we consuming? What is our brain consuming? What is our body consuming, right? We're in both instances, it's about consuming the right things, the right amount of things, right? On your end, it's about the foods we're eating and the vitamins we're taking. And
I like how you started the conversation with no offense, but then you come full circle and you come back
what I meant was that I wasn't dismissing, that part of it, your efforts.
You're
but
being
I was
passively dismissive.
No, I was not. But what I was doing was I was kind of setting the scene for the fact that we can have all the resources available, but if we don't have that mindset, if we don't have, that thinking, if we're not thinking and speaking to ourselves in a way that's kind and helpful, then it doesn't really get us very far.
Do you see what I did there?
What did you do?
I was a little bit of a jerk.
Yes.
And I put the pressure on you, and you came up with the best line of the whole podcast.
Okay, let's
take a break?
Take a little snippet of that and post only that.
Let me see. There was something else I wanted to talk about. You hit upon emotional eating, which is, I think that's like self-medicating.
It is. I don't think that we realize we're doing it. A lot of times it is about that comfort or, even just socially, I think, food plays a big part in, the way we interact with one another. So it's not just like, it's not always this lonely person sitting there eating a bag of chips in front of the TV. It can be, but a lot of times it's about, when I think in terms of emotions, I'm also thinking about, okay, it's the holidays. Maybe you're going to one relative's house and then you're going to another relative's house. And you've just had a full meal with one of your aunts, and now you go to your other
double
aunt's
dipping.
house. You are, because you go to your other aunt's house and she's like, what do you mean you don't want the pie I made? And then all of a sudden you're like,
you can't pick favorites. You're going to have both.
Why did you have your dad's sister's pie and not your mom's?
Let's be honest. This isn't about apple pie. This is about, high carb meals every day, not preparing protein, being negative, and then rewarding yourself with garbage, alcohol consumption.
Yes.
So, we can highlight the holidays, but I would almost take that piece of dessert once a day. It's like, if you, let's say this person was active, then but I like to have a little piece of dark chocolate. No big deal. Who cares? That's not really a dessert. I'm not going to give you grief. But if you told me you had half a bottle of wine, I'm like, bingo. There we are.
Yeah.
And it's those little things that we push to the side, and we're like, it's not that. It's not because of that. It's not because of this. And she's like, I had 3 pancakes yesterday. I'm like, yeah, well, did you really? That's about 1,000 calories right there.
Or even, consuming misuse, abuse, certain substances that cause you to be hungry after. Marijuana.
Oh.
Right? And then you're binging. So you're self-medicating mentally, and then you're self-medicating this. No? Are you not making that connection?
No, I got it now. You got to be very blunt.
Right. Oh, God.
I did that.
I don't think you meant to do that.
No, I didn't. No. But as soon as I said it, I'm like...
You're so proud of yourself.
Yeah, I'm so proud of myself. Back to serotonin. Well, you had something else?
No, I was just going to say that people might not realize that you're self-medicating in different ways, right?
Yes.
And the end result is that you're, again, consuming things you probably shouldn't be consuming. And it's probably not a small piece of dark chocolate.
We talked in general about weight loss.
Yes.
But what about just even accepting your body composition the way it is? Not necessarily that you have to lose weight, but maybe some people that are like, well, my clothes don't quite fit like that they used to.
Right.
This was like 10, 15 years ago. I'm like, time to buy some new clothes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are insecure about their appearance. Like,
So
where can we help them with their self-image, self-confidence, self-esteem?
And I feel like every time we talk, this topic always comes up in some way, is about social media. So social media, I'm constantly reminding my clients that's not real life. It's a little window into something of someone's life, and it's not always accurate, right? We have all these filters, we have all these editing programs right at our fingertips, literally on your phone that you're able to edit.
No filter here.
Okay, great. Right. So while we might see people like Andrew with a 6-pack, we don't always, that's not the reality. Maybe
It's
there's
his reality.
It's his reality, but is that everybody's reality? Is that really what's common? When we walk down the street, how many 6-packs are we seeing? But what's happening is if we constantly look at this stuff online.
What a weird comment. Where did this go wrong?
If we're constantly looking at things online, then our algorithms are changing to this, like, these images that we're, constantly bombarded with. Right?
I mostly got all that.
Okay, so then what's happening is that we're looking at our own bodies and we're comparing. So again, about the comparison.
Stop comparing.
Stop comparing. And also stop comparing to what you were like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
If those clothes don't fit, maybe it's because you were in high school. Maybe it's because you were more active.
Before kids, right?
Sure, before kids. Absolutely.
Before marriage. Yeah.
Things change, right? Our body's changing. I mean, you would be able to explain the science behind what our bodies are like.
That's
right?
what you were going. Well, I tell people 10 years of existence adds about 5 pounds of pollution weight.
Okay.
So if you're 50 years old.
What is pollution weight?
I figure there's a lot of stuff in our environment like that we retain chemically, toxins, like debris that we just collect internally. Then, sometimes you need a good flushing. And we just tack on weight. That's just naturally like a progressive state, like our metabolism slows down. So unless you do something to upregulate your metabolism, become more active, your body just naturally holds on to things.
Right.
So over time, you're going to be a little bit heavier and it's not even going to look bad. It's just the number on the scale is higher.
Right.
And sometimes people just can't get over that. They get fixated on a number.
Right. And so is that number going to be our focus, or is the focus then going to be, I don't feel like I have a lot of energy. So it's the energy that I'm looking for. It's sleeping better.
Yeah.
Right. The connection between eating well and sleeping better, those types of things. What's more important? Of course, everybody wants to look good. They want to feel good. But at the end of the day, maybe that's not a part of your entire goal. Maybe a part of your goal is to feel better.
And I like that because we can highlight other parameters that we can measure success with. So instead of just looking at your weight as a mass, like in pounds or kilograms, you can start monitoring like your body fat versus your muscle mass. I mean, I always brag about the machine here, the InBody, and you can see how it changes over time. And I'm very proud to advertise other clients that have like significant shifts in their body composition. It's not because necessarily they dropped a ton of weight, but they've just changed where some body fat became muscle. Someone even today, they're like, well, like, how do I get my body fat down and lose weight? It's like, well, if I drop your body fat, but your weight is the same because you've gained muscle and it looks great on you, would you be happy with that? They're like, I guess.
Right.
It's like, well, then the weight doesn't matter as much as it's the composition. And then other parameters like you said energy, your mood. There's also something like biological age that has to do with your cellular health. These are things that we can measure now, and we can see how they change over time. So even if you're like 50 years old, but your biological age says you're a 40-year-old, that means you're doing something right. That means that you're not aging more rapidly than your peer group. If anything, you're turning back the hands of time.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
Good.
Very good.
Parting shots?
I don't know.
No parting shots.
Parting shots.
I mean, let's wrap it up, lady. We don't have all day. People have lunches to get back to.
Okay. So, to wrap it up, I think that it's important while we're looking at the physical, we also want to look at what we're feeling, how we're feeling. The support is important, right?
Yes. Well, do you want to like throw out like maybe a little advertisement or a commercial, like what you're planning with your group?
Yeah, just a small group, not anything. It'll probably be like five or six people. I think that it's important to have that peer support. So, obviously with consent, being able to touch base with each other. And then
so a group session.
Yeah, a group session
in-house here.
Yeah, and then to be able to, even have that support outside and then meet again, like reconvene, but to be able to do something
group
where,
chat.
Yeah, a group chat, something where it's like, okay, going for a run, who wants to come, that type of thing. But then to also talk about, what it is that's, difficult when it comes to that stuff. What are some of the challenges?
Yep.
And a lot of times the challenges are very common. So, and when you feel like you have that support in terms of people who have this like mutual understanding, then it's, I feel like it's motivating and we're able to push each other to kind of get to that point.
Awesome. Aren't you glad you did this?
No, yes.
Did you say no, yes? Thank you, Sara. So we'll, through social media, we'll advertise and promote your group sessions. And I'll be putting this on Instagram and YouTube. And we will do this again.
Sure.
I think you're good for one a year.
Later rather than sooner, but yeah.
All right.
I'll come back.
Thanks, Sara. All right. Thanks, everyone who joined us.
Bye.
Bye.